Guys.
Alina is joining us today as an associate from Schellman. She's going to be sharing her insights with us as far as how she transitioned into cybersecurity, what a day in the life looks like, and we'll also have some time to ask some questions and get to know her better on a personal and professional level. Not too personal. Don't answer what you don't want to. All right. With no further ado, let's get it started. Alina, tell us about yourself. What got your journey started? What was the influential thing that made you interested in cybersecurity? How'd you get into the field?
So my freshman year, I started out in engineering, and then I switched over to business because I wanted something more people oriented, and I thought that was just more interesting. So I majored in information systems, which is a pretty broad field, and I wanted to find something that I can actually specialize in. So in my research, I found out about cybersecurity, and I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity to be in a field where you can learn something new every day and also be challenged and solve problems. So it was just interesting to me, and I just decided to go there.
So when you said you found out, what was it? Like a class that was offered, a article you read? What were the things that,
It was really just Google researching, like, what can I do with an information systems degree? Because OC doesn't really have a cybersecurity major. At least when I started, they only have the minor. So none of my classes really introduced me to cybersecurity. It was more just trying to figure out what I wanted to do post grad.
ideal? So it was intentional. You actively sought
Yeah.
it out. Okay. So you mentioned what could you do with the information systems degree? What drew you to study that at Ohio State is where you went, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What drew you to study that there?
I thought it was a very cool blend of like both IT and business. And I think the classes especially were very interesting because he took some computer science courses and then he took all the business core classes. So that blend alone, I was like, well, you get to learn about both fields, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah.
So I also saw that you did an internship in risk model management, right? Identity access management. Has that further shaped the career path? Was that the result of research as well? Or once you got started, that's where your interest drew you? W-
Yeah, so my first internship at Marathon Petroleum, it was just a general IT internship and then you were placed within a team. So I happened to be placed in the identity and access management team and that further exposed me more into cybersecurity. And then I was like, wow, I want to learn other parts of the field as well because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do exactly. So the next year I did a risk model management internship at a bank. And that was a very cool experience because while it wasn't very IT focused, it did exposed me to just how a bank deals with risk in general, especially in the anti-money laundering space.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do something more geared towards that post grad. So I didn't really look for audit rules specifically, but I ended up here because all the things that I got to learn in this role pretty much aligned with what I wanted to learn in my career. And I think just especially in cybersecurity, you just want to be continuously learning. So I just wanted to find opportunities like that.
Ideal. So let's back up a little bit. So you mentioned two different internships that you did. What was that process like? Because I know there are plenty of folks who are either in school who are actively looking for roles, or some folks who aren't in school and they're still just looking for some entryway into the industry, into a role, even if it's not their dream role, to some role. What was that process like for you finding those internships and then after that, staying within them and then finding the next opportunity?
So I found my first internship through the career fair at Ohio State, specifically the business career fair. And I also had a friend that interned at that company as well, and she told me about her experience. So I landed an on-campus interview, and then I kind of mentioned that, hey, my friend told me about this experience, which I think further helped me get along in the interview process. Because I personally think that having connections in any form of any way can help you, especially nowadays with how hard it is to get an internship. So, yes, you could apply, but then also try to actively make relationships with people in those companies or who have worked in those companies, because then you can gain an insight that you can't really find on Google. Like I learned about the company culture that I probably wouldn't have been able to find on LinkedIn, for example, from my.
Mhm. Right. And that's a key point because a lot of times when people talk about networking or getting to know folks, they're kind of have a narrow vision on just the hiring manager or the CEO or whoever has an impressive title. But to
Mhm.
your point, it was a friend that you knew who that you could then reference who was already involved in the role. So I know that other people have said it, but I think most popularly, Issa Rae was mentioning how when you network with folks, you don't always have to network up. You can network laterally, people who are on the same level as you, because sometimes they can get you information to places where you wouldn't have known otherwise. Awesome. Okay. So that's definitely something that you would recommend? Like, looking back on it as far as the experience, was it one of those, "Hey, it's a pay my dues" kinda thing, or was it a building block for your career, do you think?
I definitely think it was a building block, especially just learning how to network in general. I feel like that's very important to do throughout college, and it pushed me to be more involved in at OSU. So I ended up joining, like being a leadership ambassador, and also the women's cybersecurity chapter. So just being more involved in the community.
How was that with balancing, or was there balance, I guess would be part of the question, between growing, setting the building blocks for your career as you identified, but then also enjoying the college experience? You're still young and, you wanna have a life. How did you strike that balance there?
Um, I think at times there was no balance, unfortunately. It was very
Right.
hard because I did work throughout college as well, and at one point, I was both a TA and a developer. So, not too much work-life balance, but I tried to make time, especially on the weekends, to at least see friends or have, like, my personal hobbies and everything. But I think now post-grad, I'm definitely a lot better at maintaining work-life balance, thankfully.
I do, thankfully, right? That answer of, I think it was on the Jennifer Hudson show or something, and she was like, "You're doing this, that, and the other. How do you balance it all?" He was like, "I don't."
Pretty
And
much.
we try to be good about it. I think it's something that we should be mindful of, but the honest answer
Mhm,
is sometimes we're successful and sometimes we're not. And so I definitely think that's worth discussing, if not solving, because sometimes we have
mhm.
the answers there. You mentioned you were TA. You also said you were developing at the same time.
Yeah, for I think 2 semesters.
Okay. How did you get into that? I know you mentioned for the internships, there was a career fair for the TA for the developing. Was it a similar path as far as something at school that directed you? How did you get into that as well?
So my developer role, I started out in that department as just like IT help desk support. That was the job I started my freshman year of college. And then around my sophomore year, they were looking for web developers and I wanted to gain more just experience, like technical skill experience. So I applied and I got in to that position. So my last 2 years of college, I was a developer. And then my junior year, I applied to be a TA for one of the Java classes because I took it and I actually helped my friends study for it, and they were like, "You should be a TA, you're pretty good at teaching." And I'm like,
Mhm,
"Sure, that'd be a fun thing to do on the side." But it was very time intensive because
mhm.
it's a great a lot of work. You have to help like I have to have office hours and everything, and it was a challenging class for some people. So then my senior year, I was like, I think I'll just stop with that. So yeah, it only lasted a year, but it was a very good experience because I do like teaching other people. I do like helping other people.
That was a humble flex, and you didn't even flex, but I'm a flex for you. Yeah, it was a challenging class for some people, not me though.
That's not
You're
really
welcome.
I think it's just because that class specifically was kinda weirdly set up where, like, they had computer science majors, and then they had people from other majors using it as a
Mhm.
minor, so you have
Yep,
a vast variety of people. So I
got
also had to, like, adapt the way I explain stuff to people because, like, if they're not a computer science major, they don't have that background information like other people do, right?
I do. So I would think that, even you said your first year it was help desk support, was that right?
Yeah.
So even that experience of talking through and assisting folks who might not have the same knowledge and background or familiarity as you do would probably helps in teaching as well, because it's the same, well, maybe not the same, but similar concepts as far as you having more knowledge and experience than the person that you're assisting. Okay, so with all of that wealth of experience in school and still trying to find balance with hobbies and life and being a human being, then you transition from full stack development, you get a current role, cybersecurity and Schellman. What was the time difference between graduating and you starting with Schellman?
So I did continue my developer job for another month after I graduated. I think I had 3 days between my last day of being a developer and then starting at Schellman. So I think the transition was pretty smooth overall. I'm a
Mm,
part of the emerging talent program at Schellman. So the first 2 months was like a classroom style experience. And that was very nice because we were able to learn a lot, do some hands-on activities, and that's helped me transition even better when we started working on projects. So I think overall pretty smooth transition. And then while in my current role, I don't do any programming, I do think that knowledge has helped me a lot with just understanding the more technical controls in my work, especially when I have to like look at evidence that has code in it. At least I can say, well, I understand this language. I can get a faster understanding of what it's trying to do.
got you. So for those who don't know what Schellman is or what you do, can you explain, give us a little snapshot of both of those, what the company is and then what your role is at the company?
Yeah, so Schellman is a compliance and assessment firm. So they focus on a lot of like cybersecurity frameworks and compliance. The one I do specifically is SOC 2 reports. So I do a lot of control testing where I'm evaluating a company's controls, seeing how well they effectively work. And also there's like other frameworks that Schellman works in as well, like PCI for like banks, and then ISO is more like on the international standard.
So you mentioned you said SOC 2 that there's PCI. Do you get to pivot between? Is it set up that way that you can do that? What does that look like?
So right now I work exclusively in SOC. I have seen a PCI project before, but my work is mainly just in the SOC space.
Okay, sock space in the drawer. Okay, cool, cool. So you said that you transitioned about a month after your web developer role into the role that you're in now. What is the biggest difference between what you've done previously and what you do now? And well, let's answer that, and then that'll inform what I say with the with follow up there.
I think it's mainly talking to clients. In my previous role, I only talked to my boss and my team members because it's very much internal. I worked on a tool that was just used by internal employees. So in this role, I have to talk to clients, especially in walkthroughs. So that's kind of new because I have a little bit of social anxiety when it comes to talking to new people. So I'm trying to work better at that and also build onto that skill. So definitely a very big difference.
Gotcha. And is that something because you just mentioned it's something that you need to work on or whatever. Is it something that you're begrudgingly working on or that you're excited to? Of like, hey, here's the challenge to grow, or ugh, here's the challenge to shrink away from.
I think it's both, honestly. I am excited to grow in this field in general, but then when it comes to like talking to people, it is kind of scary. Like when you're
Yeah.
talking to people that are levels above you and you're asking them questions, like I get a little worried that the client's gonna get upset at me for asking the wrong question or asking a dumb question. But it's just something I feel like I'm gonna get better at over time as I continue to talk to clients, as I continue to just work on just speaking in general.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Like even with the getting nervous, I don't know how many of
Mhm,
these bring a hacker to work days that we've done. I speak to people regularly. I still get nervous when I have a conversation with people, primarily
mhm,
because sometimes things are going a million miles a minute in my head, and I want to make sure that what I say is in line with that makes sense to the person I'm speaking to. Or
mhm.
even after the fact, I'll be like, "Oh crap, I shouldn't have said that," or I should have said this." So I definitely understand that. I feel like it's part of the human condition there. I see that Dion put in the chat. I have a question. Would you recommend someone who wants to get into cybersecurity to do help desk or just to apply for the role that you want? So, as someone who has worked help desk and then multiple roles, do you think that was influential to what you did? Is it a step you could have skipped or one that you recommend?
I think it's a step I do recommend because help desk, especially in the college level, is pretty easy to get into, I would say, as a student. And then it helps you just pivot to other roles you want to do. I think applying directly to an entry level cybersecurity role now is very difficult, especially in the current job market. So just getting any type of IT experience will definitely help.
Thank you. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced in your current role, in the your previous roles, in your career thus far, and how did you overcome them?
I think it's the feeling of imposter syndrome and not knowing enough because in cybersecurity, there's so much to learn. There's still a lot to learn for me, especially. Um, I feel like when I started out in audit, I was very confused and was kind of lost, especially when I was learning about how SOC reports work. And I had that type of imposter syndrome like, is this really cut out for me? Like, am I smart enough to do this? And I still have imposter syndrome at times, but how I combat that is just by just keep going and keep trying basically, because if I give up, then, well, you won't make any progress, right? So I keep trying to push myself to learn different things, learn different frameworks, even if it seems like above my level right now, at least having some knowledge about something will help in the future.
We mentioned a couple times that you've have experience in excuse me, development and help desk support and now auditing and everything. How do each of those skills complement each other? Because even what you mentioned with the imposter syndrome, I know sometimes we question ourselves, can I do whatever, but you just keep going.
Mhm.
How do those experiences help you keep going? Or do they work together? Do you set some things aside and they're of no value to you? Or Do they still complement each other?
I think I view them as building blocks, so they do complement each other because if I didn't start on that help desk role, I wouldn't have gotten that developer role, and that developer role wouldn't have given me like some extra technical background that I can use in my audit role. So they all work together because even though yeah, I'm not coding, I'm still using some of that knowledge.
So, kind of to Dion's point, I know people want sometimes, when we're looking to see what to do next, it helps if there's so many different options, so many different things to do, to have a career or path to model after. So, what technical skills, either ones that you have or ones that you wish you would have had to make things easier, or certifications would you recommend for someone who's wanting to follow a similar career path?
Hmm. I think I would recommend just, like, in terms of certifications, I know Security Plus is very popular, that's, like, a good foundational certification, along with, the CCE certification as well. I personally didn't have those because I took classes in cybersecurity, and I think just getting that basic foundation of cybersecurity fundamentals, like the CIA triad and how risk management works, are pretty good stepping stones, and then within that, I would recommend joining communities related to cybersecurity because then you can hear from people in different positions and hear what they do, because cybersecurity is like a really big umbrella, right? There's so many things you can do in it, like pen testing, or in my case, IT audit. So I would recommend you just find an area you want to work towards and then work towards that specifically. So if you want to do pen testing, you can try to work towards your OSC, like your ethical hacker certification, and then do hack the box workshops to try to gain some of that experience.
Got you. So it's not a one size fits all. It's find out what works for you.
Yeah.
Um, in that sock space, the drawer, pull out the one that fits. So are there any tools or technologies that you find the most exciting or impactful on your day to day? And I know some things might not apply to your role specifically, but are tangentially related that could potentially interest you.
I think so we use Field Guide at work for our audits, and they really are trying to add more AI features. So I think that's both interesting and also just I'm a little confused like how it's gonna impact our work, but I'm curious to see how the company plans to make our work more efficient with those AI features. Because AI is like the very big topic right now in
Mhm.
everywhere, right? So a lot of companies are trying to use it to make their work more efficient. So I'm just curious to see how it's gonna impact my work because I actually don't really know since I'm still learning about AI in general.
Mhm.
And still I just started out in this field as well, so I'm curious to see how it's gonna help audit in general.
Okay. Um, is it necessary for your role for you to stay current on evolving threats or changes in cybersecurity? And if it is, how do you do that? What's your go-to to make sure that you stay current?
Yes, absolutely. When you're in this field, you're basically a student for life, so
Hmm.
continuously learning is very important. I typically stay up to date by either reading articles on LinkedIn or I follow, like, certain pages on LinkedIn, like Hack the Box likes to repost different things about cybersecurity or, like, they'll repost diagrams of, like, how network security works, so, like, people can just easily reference that. So
Okay. Cool, cool. Any podcasts or anything that you listen to?
there's this one podcast I listened to that talks about, like, different vulnerabilities in, like, pen testing specifically, but I forgot the name, unfortunately. But there's a lot of really good podcasts out there related to cybersecurity.
Okay, cool, cool. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier when you said get involved in a community, and one of the communities that you're in is WiCyS, right? You've been there for what, 2 years?
Yeah.
And WiCyS is a partner organization. Whoop whoop. We support all the folks who want to support all of our members. And I know people need as many resources as they can. We can't all do this alone, or none of one can do it alone. So it's good to have multiple organizations that are similar in mission. What has that experience been like for you to be part of that community?
It's been a really good experience. I love how there's so many resources out there for people a part of this organization. I did the mentorship program my senior year of college, and that was very helpful because I had 2 mentors and then 3 other girls, and we had, like, this monthly meeting where we touched on different topics, like resume workshops or public speaking. So, it was a really good way to feel connected to a community in cybersecurity, and also motivated me to kinda create that chapter at OSU. So when I started, we didn't really have a WiCyS chapter. So my senior year, I worked with some other girls to kinda establish one, and then seeing that grow over the year was very impactful to me and just shows how having a community can really empower you.
I do. Agreed. And so part of the reason that we got connected for you to be a guest on this episode is through a community group at Schellman. What is that group and what all do you do?
So Shaman Spirit is I think it's kind of new. So I don't know too much about it since I just joined, but what I do know is that it works towards doing outreach to communities, especially like organizations that are too small to do an assessment or an audit. So we kind of help educate them and also do a lot of like more like educational type webinars.
Hmm. So that community obviously is important to you for the fact that you joined it, recommend for people to join, created one in college where where you saw there was a gap, you sought to fill it. So how important would you say community is as part of your growing personally and professionally?
I think it's very important. I kind of think of it as like both a professional community and I have a personal community. The professional community is great because you get to learn things from other people that you probably would not have learned online. Like I said, that's kind of how I got into my very first internship because I learned new things from that one friend. And just also that support can make you feel more confident. You can't really do everything alone. So just having other people around you that are very supportive makes you feel more empowered and confident. Like here at Schellman, the associate class I'm in right now, everyone is very supportive. I made a lot of great friends here, and I'm very grateful to them because it definitely made work feel more fun, but also it's just great because I could just bounce off questions off of them and learn what they think. So, yeah, that community aspect is very, very important.
I do. Okay, so you mentioned that you had a mentorship your senior year. What was that like? Was it, you had a specific goal that you're now partnering with this person to help you bring to fruition? Was it more so, hey, I don't know, you guide? What was that process like for you?
So, Women's Cybersecurity has a yearly mentorship program, and I joined it because I wanted to basically get a better understanding how I can transition easily, like from college to my new grad role. Kind of wanted to just get some advice, like how to make that transition a little easier and less overwhelming. So, I joined that program as a mentee to kind of hear insights from people that have done that transition.
Mhm.
So it was a very good program. I made a good friend out of it as well, and we all met up at the most recent WiCyS conference in Dallas. So it
Hey,
was
I
a
was
very good
there.
experience. Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Are you gonna be there next year?
No, unfortunately, but hopefully the year after.
Okay, because I was like, I submitted to present to talk. I don't know if it'll be
Oh.
accepted or not, but hey, plug, plug. Hopefully they do pull it.
Well, I did join one of the Black Girls Hack workshops during the conference. And that was a lot of
Yay.
fun.
That was hosted by Tanisha and Elise. Tanisha Martin, our founder and chairwoman, and Dr. Elise McGowan, our CISO. Anyway, gotta give him, put some respect on
Mhm,
their name
of
anytime.
course.
Good. I'm glad you're able to participate in that. So I think we kind of jumped around a little bit. I wanted to come back a little bit to what it is that you do at Shellman. You mentioned you're in the SOC space. What does a day in the life look like? So what does that mean in practice for someone who's like, "Hey, I potentially wanna do what you do, but I don't know what it is."
Yeah, I'll just do like a typical day in the life. So I usually start out by like going through my emails because usually the day before I'll send follow-ups to the client for certain questions that I have about whatever they provided. And then I like to keep everything in a to-do list. Like I use Microsoft Planner for my day-to-day work. So I'll look through my to-do list, see what's pending, see what I need to send out, what I need to do specifically, and then if I have any walkthroughs throughout the day, walkthroughs are basically like you interview the client, you're asking about certain questions about different parts of their system, depending on what control you're working on. So I'll either prepare questions for that or I'll do control testing. So I mentioned field guide earlier. That's kind of what I stare at most of the day.
Mm.
So I will go through, work on my assigned controls and do testing, which is basically looking at the evidence, seeing if it matches the control language and the testing applied and then writing up my testing performed. So those are pretty much the two bigger pieces in my role is like preparing for walkthroughs and then conducting testing. And then if I have any downtime, I do try to study for other certifications. Like right now, I'm studying for my ISO 27001 certification since I'm taking that exam next month. So
Okay. Fingers crossed, I'm sure you'll do great.
you just,
So what's one of the biggest misconceptions do you think that people have about auditors?
hmm.
Or even your friends? Have you seen those memes when they're like what I do, what my parents think I do, what I actually do, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What or have you encountered any? It could be true as far as what you've heard.
I guess, well, when I explain it to my parents, they still don't really know what I do, so I just say
Mhm.
I work in cybersecurity, and that's what
Yeah.
I kinda say to everyone. I I don't know the typical stereotype for auditors since I'm still fairly new in the role, but I'm sure
Mhm.
other people who have been in this field for a long time will be able to answer that a lot better. I did during training, we were told that clients don't really like auditors, and I
Mhm.
can see why. I mean, it's not great having someone like walk into your home and say, "Hey, what can you tell me all these different things that you do?" And then
Mhm.
also asking them to provide a lot of screenshots, like when they have their own work to do. So I can see why we can come off as annoying, but you know.
I want the record to show I never said that you were annoying. So when you're interacting with clients, because as you mentioned, that you could see how there could be some friction or frustration there. For the most part, does it feel collaborative? Do you get pushback when you're working with clients? Or for the most part, are they like, hey, you have a purpose, I'm glad you're here and let's work together? What's that experience like on that end?
For the most part, my clients have been very nice and very eager to like show and answer my questions, which is really great. I think that collaboration helps make the audit go by a lot more efficiently and makes all both of our lives easier. So thankfully I've not seen much friction and I hope I don't. Oh.
Right. Good. I hope that for you, that as the best that things could possibly be continues on. So what has been one of your proudest moments or achievements in your journey thus far? It doesn't have to be specific to your current role or it doesn't have to be specific to work. Just that. What is your proudest moment or achievement thus far?
It's definitely starting up the OSU chapter for women in cybersecurity my senior year because, like I said, when I started, we didn't really have a space for women interested in cybersecurity. We did have a club for like women interested in computer science, but nothing more focused towards cybersecurity. So being able to be a student advisor, which was what my role, where I advised the e-board to help build that community and plan events and everything, that was very impactful for me because early on, I was like, well, someone needs to do it, so maybe I can try to do it. And it's really cool how much the organization has grown throughout the year. And I still stay in contact with the current president, and I've heard many good things, and it's great to see how that's going.
There's so much value in that. You seeing a need and saying someone needs to do it, so it can, why not me? If more people had that viewpoint and willingness to be of assistance and of value to other folks, I feel like we would be so much further along in the
Mhm.
world. So what are some personal or professional goals that you currently are working towards? I know you mentioned that you're going to take an exam next month,
Yeah.
right? Do you feel prepared for that? Is one. Um, and then two, what are some other things that you have on your roadmap, or as Tanisha would say, what's on your world domination plan?
Yeah. So regarding that exam, I just started studying for it, so
Okay.
hopefully I'll do well on it. Next, in January, I'm actually starting my part-time master's in cybersecurity program at NYU. So
Wow,
very excited
congrats.
for that.
Yeah. Full plate. Sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Those are like my two main goals right now. I still want to keep gaining more certifications as I continue throughout my cybersecurity career. So right now the goal is ISO 27001, hopefully 42001 after that, because that's the AI cert and
Mhm,
AI governance is one of like the topics I'm very interested in.
mhm.
So hopefully I can learn more about that.
We'll take time to pause and say congrats and proud of you. The
Thank
fact that
you.
you, because some people, they work towards a goal, they have it, and then they're done. They're like, okay. But for the fact that you are continuing to challenge yourself and increase your skill and capability, I think is definitely commendable. I know a lot of times people have conversations between which one is it, degree or certification in cybersecurity? And so I think it's interesting to see that you've kind of been a marriage of both in that you had a focus in school, you worked while you were in school, and then even though you have your degree, you're still getting certifications, and then you're also still going back to school for your master's. Is it safe to say that you see value in both and it's not an either or?
Yeah, there's definitely value in both. I
Mhm.
mean, I know not everyone can go to school, but that's why those certifications are a great option. But I think the combination is definitely pretty useful.
I do. Okay, and so what's your or have you planned out as far as like in 5 years, this is where I want to be. This is the role I want to be in. Have you given that thought?
Uh, Not yet. I think I'm still trying to learn my current role, learn how I can excel in it. So I'm
Right.
not really sure what the next step is, but right now I'm just learning what I can.
I do. I like that. Just a very Dory status. Just keep swimming. Respect. Okay. So if you could go back and give your college self one piece of advice, what would it be? Or actually, I feel like your college self was already kicking tail and taking names. If you can go back and give your high school self a
Mm.
piece of advice, what would it be?
My high school self was very introverted. I think right now I've come off as more extroverted and social, but when I was in high school, I didn't talk to anyone. So I
Mhm.
think one of the biggest things I would tell her is don't be afraid to talk to people and don't be afraid to start like just having more confidence in yourself because I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my career. All I knew is that I wanted to work in tech.
Mhm.
So that's why I started in engineering. And I think it's okay to change your mind, especially like throughout college or throughout your career. So just don't be afraid and have more confidence is what I would say.
I like that. I think that advice can be taken by plenty of people, i.e., myself right now. Don't be afraid to change your mind. I respect that. What about conferences? You mentioned you went to the WiCyS conference here in Dallas early this year. Are there any others that are on your radar that either that you have attended that you would recommend, or that you haven't attended that you plan to?
So I attended both the 2024 and 2025 WiCyS conferences, and they're a really, really good experience. So I highly recommend if anyone's interested in that to go for those. As for other conferences, I'm not entirely sure. I do want to attend more conferences in the future, and eventually I do want to speak at one. Like one of my long-term professional goals is to hopefully be a keynote speaker at either the WiCyS conference or just any conference.
Hmm.
So, and also I hope I can go to one more WiCyS conference, the one after next year as well.
Hmm. Might I be so bold as to suggest SquadCon, conference brought to you by Black Girls Hack?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yes, I was like, and when the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to send you the link
Yay,
for
thank
to be a
you.
speaker, because yeah, we would love to have you. This is exactly why we have a platform to be able to give folks as yourself the opportunity to do so, to share your knowledge. Fantastic. Okay, and so wait, hold on. Somebody just put a question. Make sure I put that. How did you land your current role? Okay, perfect. Yeah, because you did mention you're part of the associate class. What was that process like to get in there?
So I was first introduced to Schellman at again the OC Career Fair. I went to it every single year, and that's how I got my two internships and my job as well. So there, one of the managers from the Ohio office was talking about the emerging talent program, and I thought that was a really cool experience because like, it's basically they have, like, the classroom style training, which I think is great for someone that just graduated. It's a good way to transition into the field as well. So, I like how that was geared more towards new grads, and that was what really drew me in. And then I also try to talk to other people from Schellman since sometimes they would come to campus, like the business school, just have like a small panel to talk and everything. So I would ask them questions about the company culture, try to get more information that again you can't really find online. And I think that helped me a lot with solidifying what I wanted to do and then also just learning as much as I could about the company at the time.
So, for the fact that so many of the opportunities came from the career fair, there's a lot to be said about taking advantage of opportunities that are available. And sometimes, as you did with finding out about cybersecurity, it requires a bit of research, but it can yield a pretty fantastic result because there are plenty of people, as evidenced with WiCyS, BGH, Cyberjitsu, Women in Security and Privacy, the list goes on and on. There are organizations and resources that are seeking to serve. It's just a matter of getting connected and making the most of them. So glad
Mhm.
that you were able to do that. I wanted to give you the opportunity. Is there anything that we did not discuss that didn't come up organically in conversation that you wanted to make sure that you shared with the folks on this call?
I think I may have already covered this, but the main thing, like I definitely have covered this a lot, but the main thing is trying to be a part of a community. It doesn't have to be women in cybersecurity. It can be just any cybersecurity community. A lot of cities have like a local like tech club or cybersecurity club. I know like ISACA has chapters throughout the US and the world. So something like that can be very helpful. So if you just don't really know where to go, just join those organizations and then attend those networking events, and then that'll help you continue to learn and grow if you want to continue working in the field.
That's great feedback. And so I'll give again, folks, if you have any questions, comments, I guess you can share concerns and we'll see what we can do to assist you. Feel free to either put that in the chat or come off mute and ask them directly. And while I'm giving folks the opportunity to do that, I'm trying to be better about sitting with silence. How are you studying for your exam? Like, is there a specific platform you're using? Is it independent study? What are you doing to study?
So this is through a company called PECB, I think, and it's like an online class. It's asynchronous, so I've just been going through the slide deck and then writing notes, and then they also provide practice questions as well that I plan to use. So very similar to like studying for an exam in college. That's basically what I'm doing.
And how do you break up the time with your, because your role is full time, right? With someone. Okay. How do you identify how to schedule your study time in addition to working full time?
I think that's something I'm still trying to learn how to do, especially next year when I start my master's program. But it just goes it's all about time management. You have to be really good at managing your time, especially in such a demanding field. So by blocking up my time saying, "Hey, I'm going to study during this time and then also do these other times," is very helpful. Because some days I'll have like a lot like some slower days where clients aren't responding just yet and I don't have that many meetings, and I'll check in with my manager, see if there's anything that needs to be done. And if not, then I'll take that time to go ahead and study. So it's all about time management.
Got you. Agreed. That's still a struggle for me. I'm trying to figure it out, get the right balance. So question Tanya put in the chat is I graduated back in May of 2025. What advice would you give to getting a full-time role?
I think going back to what I said earlier is try to be more involved with the cybersecurity community if you have one in your area. They'll sometimes have not even just cybersecurity, just technology in general. They'll have like either networking events you can go to, maybe not recruiter specific, but you'll get to know people there that already work in the industry, and those connections could like tell you certain things that could help you with your career search.
Deal. And to kind of piggyback on one of the things that you mentioned, since so many of the things were a career fair that was put on by the school, one thing that might be a potential opportunity for you is to see what the alumni program is for your school because it behooves them for you to do well. Because they wanna be able to brag about you and use it as an opportunity to bring more dollars into their school. So, to see if they have any opportunities or, connections that they can connect you with. And then the other thing, I went to, Women of Security here in Dallas, and one of the suggestions that a gentleman there made was on LinkedIn, sort by your connections, whatever, sort by folks who went to your school, because sometimes people are a bit more prone to support folks where they have that connection. It's like, "Oh, you're a fellow alum of such and such, so am I. I have this opportunity." And even if they don't have the opportunity, they might know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and you can get connected that way as well. Um and you can let me know if you agree with this, Alina, if it's something that you've seen or not, but it very much is not just what you know and what you do. It's also about who you know and who knows you and where they're positioned. And it's about, having a strong network. So while there are so many things that you can do traditionally of obviously just look for positions that are open, you also have to be a bit creative and do those things that you mentioned of going to those networking events. And even it's not a one and done thing. Hey, I went to one networking event this Monday and, you know, nothing came of it or whatever. It has to be part of the process of continuing that networking and then following up with the people that you made connections with, and being visible. So how then that makes me pause for a second. Hopefully that was helpful, Tanya. And I know sometimes I go off on tangents but for LinkedIn, what does your LinkedIn profile look like? How much nurturing do you give it? And I know you went through the career fair and everything else, but did that play a role as well in your networking?
I think so because especially at the conferences, I use my LinkedIn to connect with other people there.
Mhm.
The conference had a career fair, so I back when I was job searching, I connected with recruiters there. But then I also reconnected with the keynote speakers or like the workshop speakers I went to as well, basically to help expand my network. So I think LinkedIn definitely played a pretty big role in helping maintain that.
Yeah, that was a good point too, the connecting with the speakers, because especially if you're trying to specialize and you want to learn more, it's good to, and then one of the other questions was how do you stay abreast of all the information that's developing and everything else. So broadening that network, learning from folks who are already speaking on things that you're interested in, must be for the fact that you went to their talk and you listened to them. It also gives you an opportunity to engage in the conversation with them about something that you're interested in, which also then increases your visibility, which then increases the potential of finding a role. The other thing, Tanya, I'm gonna put my email address in the chat. Send me your resume and what your dream role is. Every time I ask what people's dream role is, it makes me laugh because my sister always says to me, I do not dream of labor. And I'm like, all right, girl, well, what do you want to do career wise? So anyway, send me your resume with what your desired role is. And that's part of it too. Obviously, there's no guarantee. While I have been told that I'm magical, I don't practice magic. So it's not a guarantee that definitely we get a role. But as many people that can speak on your behalf and advocate for you, the better. Okay, and then someone else asked, going from internal developer role to an external auditing role, what is one thing that surprised you about the auditing career field? Good question, Abigail.
It's definitely a lot of teamwork because when I was a developer, I did work in a team, but we were all assigned our own separate tasks to do. So it's very siloed. I didn't really have like conversations with my team about a lot of things aside from just giving a status update. So in my current position, one thing that actually makes me happy is that I get to work with all different kinds of people, get to talk about different things. It doesn't feel like a one man job. So it's pretty great to work as a team.
Teamwork does in fact make the dream work. Kid confirmed. All right. We have reached the end of all of the pre-written questions that I had for you. Is there anything I know that part of the reason you participated is one, you have a heart and a mind to be of assistance and help people. So the fact that you took time out of your time to share with our group and answer questions and talk about your career path, I definitely appreciate. Is there anything that we can do to support you? I know that you're studying, you have your master's coming up. Is there an opportunity that we can be of support to you? And if so, what would that look like?
I can't think of anything exactly, but I would love to keep working with your organization. So if there's anything that I can help out with, I'd be happy to do that.
I do. And then I would also, since you mentioned the importance of networking and connecting for folks for everyone to put their LinkedIn, either put your LinkedIn link in the chat and so we can connect that way, or search for Alina, search for me on LinkedIn, and definitely be happy to connect. And if nothing else, grow that network. So yeah. All right. With that, I want to say thank you so much. Again, I appreciate your time, your energy, and I'm proud of you because, and I hope this doesn't sound trite or anything like that, but there are so many people who say, "Hey, I want to get into cybersecurity," and that's it. They don't necessarily investigate further as to what that means, what that looks like, what they need to do. But for the fact that you were like, "Hey, this is what my degree is in, cybersecurity is what I'm interested in. I'm going to research." That in of itself is something to be proud of because you went the next step of trying to investigate and figure out what you should do. Then you got engaged. I mean, you worked while you were in college. Going to college in of itself is work. But then to have a job on top of that, and then to double up on the job, you were TA and all those different things that were going on. And then now you have a job, a pretty decent one. You're already in cybersecurity. When I say pretty decent, I'm being humble. You have a fantastic job for a great company. And you could have just stopped there, but the fact that you're still continuing to improve yourself, you're still looking for ways to study and learn, and you're still involved in the community, and you're looking for ways to give back on top of that, top-notch human being. And anyway, I just want to say thank you for being you and for being a good example as to if you want something, go for it. And yeah, that's
Oh,
all.
thank you. Thank you. That's very nice of you.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to you being a speaker at SquadCon. Start thinking
Yeah.
about what that session is going to be about because I'm gonna hype you up super strong and probably bother you a little bit until you do it. So yeah, and best of luck for your exam coming up. I'm sure you'll knock it out the park and it'll be great.
Thank you.
Um, and for everyone who's listening, take it as I know sometimes it can be daunting when you're trying to enter into the field, you don't know what to do next, or you have checked the boxes, you have gone to school, you've done what you need to do. and you're still trying to figure out where you are, let this serve as an example that there are people who are out there who are doing the work and who are good people too. Because there are some people it seems like they're succeeding, but they're trash humans. And you're like, what is this? But anyway, good things are possible and good things are coming. And so, anyway, I thank you all for taking your time to join this call today and to hear from Alina. And in part, me drone on and try to be a fake, capped Oprah. And I hope that everyone has a great day, a great weekend. Continue to pay attention to the events calendar for BJH. We have a couple Bring a Hacker to Work Day sessions coming next week. Ariel Ezuchukwu, I think I pronounced your last name correctly, will be on. And then the week after that, we have Andre Boone, who used to be a cavalry scout. He's transitioning from Army into cybersecurity and ThreatCon. And then the week after that, we have another Shellmanator, Andy Rogers, who's in the FedRAMP space. So pay attention to the event calendar. Come back, join us. We'd love to have you. And if any of you have an interesting story that you want to share with the squad, feel free to reach out and we'll discuss potentially getting you on there. Anyway, oh, great. Thank you, Ariel, for putting your LinkedIn on there. Yes, and that's who's gonna be here next week. So yippee-ki-yay! And I stopped myself before I finish the rest of that part. Have a fantastic day and an even better weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you, Alina.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye bye.